Welcome, 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 everyone. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? All right, all right. Well, if this is Joyce, Let's Talk with JB is here today. We're going to talk about a few things, but I definitely wanted to start off today just praying for those Newark firefighters' families. There were two Newark firefighters that lost their life in the line of duty last night, and we are, I've been praying for them, and I absolutely have a friend that is a firefighter, and every time I hear something, just like what I do with police officers, when you hear something, you step back and you realize, if you didn't realize already, that those police officers, firefighters, those are dangerous jobs, right? And I cover friends and people that I know in prayer that work in those lines of duty quite often. But whenever there is an incident, I just reach out, hey, how you doing? That type of thing. And when I reached out, they replied, well, this is a dangerous job. And it is something that I absolutely know already. So today I have made a post and just pretty much just saying, hey, let's cover those families who lost loved ones. And let's cover them. Let's cover them in prayer. But let's also cover all firefighters across this country, because they're trained to run toward fires. They're trained to run toward danger, to assist, to help, to save lives. And tragically, two of those firefighters lost their lives yesterday. So again, just, we want to pray for them. We want to, like I said, keep them covered, and keep their families lifted in prayer at this time. So I definitely wanted to make sure that, in case you didn't know, like I said, there was a pretty bad fire at Port Newark. And two firefighters did lose their lives. And again, there's been I've seen lots of coverage, lots of posts and prayers, just so we are, just again, lift their families in prayer. And let's lift all firefighters across this country in prayer. And not even just across this country, everywhere. Because again, they run toward the danger when naturally you're programmed to run away from danger. So again, we want to just cover them in prayer. All right. So I'm going to start off with sports just a little bit, because today's sports take is going to be I think it's going to be pretty small. All right. The Knicks are at it again, making some trades that I just do not understand or believe in. Now, I have been waiting for Obi Toppin to just kind of get some playing time and to be able to shine a little bit. And in this playoff, this last run with the playoffs, when Randall was hurt, I thought Toppin played well. And I thought he earned more time. I thought he earned the ability to play more. I thought we would see more of Obi, not less. So as you know, if you are a fan of the NBA and of the Knicks, Obi was traded to the Indiana Pacers for 2 second-round draft picks. And I really do believe, for a first-round pick, I'm a little hurt that we gave up on him. I definitely wanted to see what he was going to be capable of. But he is going into a pretty decent situation with a lot of young guys. So that should be a fairly interesting team, exciting team. Let me say that. I don't know about playoff bound or anything like that, but that should be an exciting team to watch. They're going to score some points and they're going to be some highlights. So, I wish him all the best. But the crazy part about trading away Obi, we wind up... Now you can't make this up. Like, the Knicks make some real bad. I just don't understand sometimes what the Knicks are doing. So we get rid of Obi Toppin just to pick up his brother as an as a free agent. Because he was undrafted. So as an undrafted player, so we pick up his brother Jacob Toppin. So we got rid of Obi to pick up his brother. I don't know what that's all about. I really hope, he has an opportunity to make the team and all that type of stuff. But, welcome, welcome Jacob Toppin, right? So, I was that was kind of interesting this week. And then, of course, after day one of free agents, players typically get to go where they want to go. But a lot of those players are the ones that signed no trade clauses. And I didn't realize that Damian Lillard did not sign that. So they can trade Dame Dollar to wherever they want, because he does not have a no trade clause. And on top of that, he's locked in for at least, I think, the next 2 years. So if anybody gets him, he doesn't want to play for them. He's still contracted for 2 more years. And granted, he's making like 60, he's making a lot of money per year. So he's going to play wherever they trade him. But it's kind of like the Kawhi situation where San Antonio, they didn't want to trade him to where he wanted to go. So they wind up trading him to Toronto. And he was very clear before he was traded that he had no intentions on re-signing with Toronto. But Toronto took the gamble anyway, traded for him. And that 1 year that Kawhi was there, they won a championship. So who's to say what's going to happen? Dame Dollar's choice, of course, is to play for choice, of course, is to play for Miami. Everybody knows that he's made it extremely process of rebuilding. So it doesn't appear that Miami Heat has what Portland would want in return for Dame. So that's going to be another interesting situation. And then that the Summer League kicks off tomorrow. And then this NBA con, you guys, this is new. And then all talk on NBA radio today has been about this play-in tournament. So I didn't want to talk about it too much because from right now, the way I don't really understand how it's going to work and how it's going, all the ins and outs. So this Saturday, they're going to give the details about how this mid-season play-in tournament is going to work. So keep our eyes and ears open on Saturday, of course, so we can kind of figure this thing out. But it reminds me of high school basketball. You remember how with high school, there was a winter break. And every winter break, there was these little tournaments that they had during the winter break. So I don't really think it's a value add. I think they're trying to make the first half of the season matter. But I think it determines on, the outcome of this mid-season play-in or, tournament, what it's going to mean. Do you get any type of bonus for winning it or whatever? I think all of that type of stuff will I think, dictate if people are interested or are going to buy into this play-in tournament situation. So I'm excited to see how it's going to all work out, but I'm not going to talk about it too much until we get the details. And that's going to be this Saturday. So whatever you're doing, if you're interested in NBA, definitely make sure you're checking out. It's going to be on ESPN. They're going to do this whole kind of like, how they do for Comic-Con and all that. They have this thing now, it's called NBA Con, and it's all in Vegas. So they're going to be doing this whole big announcement, and I think it's kind of cool. Some of what they're trying to do, they're trying to do like mergers of NBA players' personal business and sport life all into kind of one. So if you some people may be more into the fashion of the NBA players. Some people may be more into the entrepreneurship of some of these NBA players. Maybe they might even have a rap studio someplace in the corner where the people who play in the NBA want to go rap or something. I have no idea. But they're trying to merge all of the different avenues that these NBA players are on now, because the NBA has become pretty multifaceted. If you look at what LeBron has done, he owns a school. He also is into making movies and films. He also has investments into companies. You had Andre Iguodala, who was also invested into companies. You had Steph Curry investing into companies, and his wife, who's a brand of her own. So this is a way for the NBA to kind of showcase what the NBA players are doing outside of the NBA. So it's kind of like a win-win for both sides. It gets people who may be interested in one avenue interested in the other. So if you may be just interested in the NBA side of what these players do, now you may be able to get a little sneak peek into some of the other things that they're doing, and maybe you're interested, and vice versa. So I think it's pretty cool. I think this is the first year. The fact that it's in Vegas makes it kind of like a destination kind of spot. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is all going to work out. But NBA Con starts. You have Summer League in Vegas starts. All of this starts tomorrow, so it's going to be exciting. But again, this play-in tournament and a little bit of details about how that's going to work. I cannot wait to hear it, because I've got tired of listening to NBA radio today. People keep talking about they don't know what it's about. Of course, we don't know all the details. We know what's happening. They've been talking about this play-in tournament, this mid-season tournament for a little bit now. I think it's trying to get that excitement of March Madness, and like I said, it really seems to be trying to get some relevance to the beginning of the season, because with load management, and even in Jimmy Butler's words about like regular season really don't matter, as long as you get in the playoffs, you have a chance to win. So I think they're trying to make games matter a little bit more, get some excitement around the first half of the season. So we're going to see how that goes. So I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of hear all of that. So I hope you guys are watching so we can talk about it a little bit more. Right. But again, the other part of sports that kind of went a little nuts this last week was the whole thing with the ESPN doing these mass layoffs. Right. Now, there are certain people who are just horrible at their jobs, and I felt like they should have been fired. I don't even understand why some of them even why some people were even how you want to say it, why some people were even hired. Like Keyshawn Johnson, I used to listen to ESPN radio in the morning, and I used to listen to ESPN radio in the morning all the time. And they they changed from Mike and Mike. And, they made a couple little changes, but they went to Keyshawn. I forget the other person, because it wasn't Max at first. It was Keyshawn something and Jay Will. And I listened to it for like 1 week, and I said, I can't do this. Keyshawn, I could not, I did not like him on radio. Not at all. So I wasn't surprised that show didn't last very long. I wasn't surprised that the ratings for that show wasn't, well received. And that was ESPN Radio. I mean, you see him on TV here and there doing guest spots, but I don't believe he had his own show. His only show was the morning show for the radio. And again, it was awful. So they got rid of him. But the people who I was very surprised to see go, they let go of Jalen Rose. Now, I was never a big Jalen Rose fan when he played, but him on ESPN, his perspective, how he speaks about the game, and how he has his own thoughts, and it's not like a groupthink type of personality. And he was on a couple of different shows. I was shocked that they got rid of Jalen. I was very shocked that they got rid of Van Gundy, because I think he's excellent, and he's part of the reason why I watch the ESPN broadcast. I mean, granted, of course, I like basketball, and see, that's the thing when they hire certain personalities, the drop off is not going to be that bad when you fire Van Gundy, right? Because it's a televised national game. If you're going to watch it, you have to watch it on ESPN. So no matter who's talking about it, who's doing the game, you're going to watch. But I will not enjoy it as much without Van Gundy. I liked his commentary. And again, it can't hurt that I'm a Knicks fan, and he was a former Knicks coach. But I am going to miss Van Gundy. He was very he was very funny. He's very matter of fact. He was very knowledgeable, and the banter between him and Mark Jackson, I loved it. So I am going to miss that, and I hope it's not like it is right now with MSG. Like, I am a big Knicks fan, but I do not like Walt Frazier calling the games. I cannot listen to it. And I know it sounds absolutely insane. I do understand that, right? But again, if you're going to watch the game, and if it's only on MSG, you're going to watch it, right? But when I say I can't listen to him commentate the games, it's just because some of the things he says, it's irritating. I don't know. Like the people are percolating up the field and percolating on the court. And I'm like, okay, I can't. So what I do for the MSG games, I literally turn on MSG, but then I go turn it on the radio and I listen to the call, the play-by-play voice on AM radio. So maybe I'll start doing that. I don't know, but I was very shocked to see Van Gundy go. And the other person I was there's quite a few. Max, I was shocked to see, but the other person I was kind of shocked to see go was Steve Young. I liked him. I felt like he also had a personality. I felt like he was very knowledgeable. But I think they're starting to see, you sign these people to these astronomical contracts, and then you pay him more and more and more and more to be able to have the content. You can't do both, right? You can't pay for these content and then pay the people to commentate. It's I guess it's become this thing where ESPN had to decide that they had to cut costs. Now, mind you, as a Disney company, Disney has also had some financial woes based on some of the movies and things that they have let out that just have not brought in the revenue that their movies typically bring in. Some people are saying that it is the content of the movies. Some people are saying it's because the movie environment never fully recovered from COVID. There are people who still are not going out to the movies. And some people are saying because the movies come to streaming so soon after they are released in the theater, it is, people are waiting the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks before, so they can see it on streaming. So if you're a family of 6, instead of going out and spending $6 for each person, that's the low end now, because the movie costs about like $12-15 to go see a movie. Don't let it be in 3D. And then after doing that, you've spent, over $100 to take a family to a movie, when you could have waited 2 or 3 weeks and paid $15 on HBO Max or, Netflix or Prime, whatever one of those streaming platforms is going to be exclusive on, and watched it there. Some people are even saying that, hey, you know what? I can pay $19 to rent it. My whole family can watch it rather than spending. So I guess because of COVID and they had to find ways to get their product out there, people got comfortable with being able to watch it on their 65-inch and their 75-inch TVs at home with their surround sound, and don't really see the need to go out to the movies. So Disney is one of those companies that are, they're not, the sales of their tickets. I mean, that's the Marvel universe. That's all of them. Yes, they're selling tickets. Yes, people are going back to the movies, but definitely not to the degree prior to COVID. So some people are saying that that's part of the reason why ESPN was forced to, make some cutbacks, make some changes, and, get rid of some talent. And for me, like some of that talent that was walking out the door, I'm hoping Van Gundy ends up on TNT, right? But currently right now, his brother's part of that broadcast, that commentating team. So I don't see how he can be added to that. So maybe NBA TV, because NBA TV they're awful to me. Chris Webber, bad. So anyhow, so we'll see what happens. We'll see how people rebound. We'll see where people go. A lot of people are saying they're not crying for these people. These people are making millions of dollars to tell you what's going on, which you can see with your own 2 eyes. So, there's this a catch-22, but these are some things that ESPN has been doing, and that's my stance on sports for this week. All right. Again, I think tomorrow for me, the NBA kind of starts off again. So I will be watching the Summer League games. I definitely want to see the Charlotte and San Antonio Spurs game. And I really want to hear about this mid-season, or what they call it, mid-season tournament. I'm interested to see how that format is going to work. I'm interested to see if it's going to be a value add. Just like when they changed the All-Star game, when they had the players picking teams, sometimes the changes work, sometimes the changes don't, so we're going to see how that goes. I'm excited. I hope you are too. We're going to see how the NBA is going to try to change it up a little bit, start to be a little bit more, relevant, a little bit more in our faces in varying ways. So last week I was talking to you guys about, doing the work, and I was giving you all the details about eating better and not eating fast food and different things of that nature. And today I'm going to come to you a little bit about fast food and what we put in our bodies and different things of that. And also, too, I'm going to do my weight, like I told you guys I would do. And I will also, be talking to you about, showing up for us, like, showing up for yourself, being present, being in the moment. And I think I talked about this, too, a little bit last week about the intentionality, like being intentional about, what it is that you have to do moving forward. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about first was, do you know what you are ingesting when you eat at these various fast food restaurants, right? And I asked this question because when we go to the supermarket nowadays, we're reading the ingredients, right? We are reading, what's in it. And sometimes you'll see something, like I was with my best friend, and we went to go look at chips. Now, I typically, when I eat, I eat chips at like parties or whatever, but typically when I buy chips, I buy these chips their brand called Deep River, right? They're not really, not easy to find. I think you can see them in Quick Check, a couple supermarkets. And most of the time I find them at Home Goods. I don't know why, but most of the time I find them at Home Goods, right? But they're called Deep River. And when you read the ingredients, it's pretty much like potato, salt, pepper, or whatever, whatever your thing is, but it's not a whole bunch of extra ingredients, right? And so my best friend, she likes these chips. They're onion garlic. They're very good. And I was explaining to her how I don't really buy a bunch of types of chips anymore because, I started to be a little bit more conscious about what's in it. And when she turned over the bag, and they're just potato chips now. When you think of potato chips, you think of potato and flavor. There were all these things that we could barely pronounce that were in these chips. And when you step back and you evaluate, like, whoa, why is all this stuff needed? Why do we need more than the potato and the seasoning, right? And a lot of times it's because, it helps these chips probably to have a longer shelf life. It helps them probably to remain crisper longer. It probably helps them to probably not, break apart in transit. Who knows why they add all this stuff? So today in my timeline, when I was on ESPN, and I'm not ESPN. I was on Instagram. I was on Instagram. I was watching something about ESPN, and this thing came up about McDonald's, and it was a guy who was sitting there with a large McDonald's fry, and he was talking about the 19 ingredients that are in the French fries. I posted this. If you follow me on Instagram under JB on Sports, it's listed as my story for today. And there's 19 ingredients in these French fries. Now, when he was talking about the 19 ingredients, of course, one was potato, one was salt, right? But he was talking about the whatever type of fat that's in whatever grease that they use to make the French fries has beef in it. Now, how many people have gone to McDonald's and eaten the French fries thinking, okay, they're just potatoes, right? So when he was just talking about all these ingredients that were in these French fries, I was kind of stepped back, like, because when you look at the thing for French fries, you would think potato, salt. That's what you would think, potato, salt. There's salt was also some type of mixture of sugar and this and that. And I sat back and I was just like, wow, we really do not know what we have been ingesting, what we are eating. Like if you were to go home and you would make French fries for yourself, right, from scratch, you would take a potato, you would cut it into, depending if you want steak fries, skinny fries, you use a machine to turn them into French fries, right? And then you would add some salt and maybe a little bit of oil. If you're going to bake them or if you're going to fry them, you're going to fry them in whatever type of oil you use, right? And that's it. You don't need all these other ingredients to make your French fries. So when we were talking last week about what we put in our bodies, being more conscious about what we eat, and I was saying that I was cutting out fast food, I didn't even think about it to the terms of this until I saw this video about these McDonald's fries. Now, this is just the French fries. This is not the burgers. This is not the bread. This is not. And if you think about it, a lot of the stuff that they're using, this is made to mass production, right? It has to last. It has to have a long shelf life. It can't go bad easily, right? Because they make this stuff, then they have to ship it all over the country. So when I was seeing this video, it also made me remember this this thing that I saw. Maybe it had to easily be like 6-7 years ago, right? It was someone at a doctor's office sat out like a Happy Meal. It was like a burger, fries, and I don't remember what else, but it was like 3 things. And this burger and fries sat there for years, if I'm not mistaken. And if I can find this, I will repost it. And it did not decay. It did not rot. So if it didn't do that, and food is supposed to naturally break down, what is in that food that allows it to be look pristine years later, to allow it not to do what it's naturally designed to do, which is break down, right? That kind of had me back then saying, okay, what is in this burger? Is this even real beef? So I kind of started to stay away from McDonald's a long time ago, right? But I still was giving it to my grandson. I still was letting him eat it if he wanted it. I was still getting it for my nieces and nephews. I was still allowing them to consume it. So what I'm getting at here is, like, once we know better, it's not just for us to keep that information for ourselves. We need to now start putting that information out there. And I'm so thankful for some of the videos that I've been coming across that have been just really pointing out how we take for granted. Like, yes, convenience is amazing. It is so convenient to be able to stop at a place and grab something to eat, and it be hot and ready to go, and you can eat and drive and keep on moving. It's very convenient. Definitely. It's very convenient. But if you took a little bit of effort and you took a little bit of time and you started to kind of show up for yourself, because you start to think about, hey, this body, I only get one. I need to be a good steward over it. I need to make sure that I'm eating well. And that means I need to make sure of what I'm putting in my body. And the only way to be sure of what you're putting in your body is to cook it, make it, read the ingredients, understand it for yourself, right? Like, for years, I used to eat beef sausages because I grew up not eating pork. Now, come to find out that the casing that they put on some even beef sausages has pork in it. Even some of the things that the casings what I read before is that the casing that they use has a trace. It could have traces of pork in it. So my point is like, you can be eating something that you believe is 100% whatever, but unless you make it yourself or do it yourself, how do you really know? So I was challenged, by myself, not to go out, not to eat fast food, not to do that. And I did not have any fast food this week, but I was with my grandkids, and they had, what they have the other day, Popeyes. Now, I don't think of Popeyes as that bad, right? I think Popeyes is just some fried chicken and French fries. But after seeing that thing from about McDonald's, I am now more inclined to go on their website to read the ingredients for what they use in the batter of that chicken. Why is their skin so crispy? Why is their chicken juicier? So they must be doing something a little bit extra, right? So I said, I'm going to go to their website and start reading and start educating myself. And maybe by doing that, it won't, because sometimes it's a challenge not to get the quick food, the quick meal. Like, I wish I could eat this because it's right here. I don't have to go home and have to make anything, right? Oh, I wish I could eat that because it's right here. It's already done. I don't have to do anything, right? But that's the quick. Remember, we talked about that. No, we don't want the quick fixes anymore. But I'm saying this to say, it's like we have to be a little bit more conscious about what we put in our bodies. And I'm saying that because, like, a while ago when I was charged to not eat certain things, I started to cut down on mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise, and I said that already. I like mayonnaise. I put too much mayonnaise on my burgers. I put too much mayonnaise on my tuna fish. I like mayonnaise. So we had found a mayonnaise called Just Mayo that was not made from eggs, and so wasn't going to cause high cholesterol. It was a vegan mayo, and it was a vegan mayo. And like I said, I love mayo, and it tastes like Hellmann's, right? And if you like mayonnaise, Hellmann's is the only real mayonnaise. So I would go out, I would spend the additional cost for it. I didn't care because I felt like it was healthier and it was good. Then all of a sudden you just could not find it anywhere. I mean, you couldn't find it anywhere. I would almost felt like, there was something done to the person who was producing it, so they couldn't produce it anymore. I couldn't find it. Before, it was like you can only find it at Whole Foods, and it would be like almost $10 for a small jar, right? But I still would get it because, again, it was healthier and it still was good. When we could not find this, my best friend took it upon herself to try to recreate this mayo. And I don't know how she did it, but she did it. It's a vegan mayo. It is absolutely delicious. It's doesn't add to your cholesterol. And so when I'm trying to do better, I also know my strengths and weaknesses. I am not going to make mayo. I just know that I'm not. So I offered to purchase the mayo for my best friend. Now, this mayo is the actual, what I'm trying to explain to you, it is absolutely delicious. It is absolutely vegan. It is absolutely healthy. Everything in this mayo, you know what it is, you know where it came from, and you know that it's not going to cause any additional side effects, issues, and all of that. So when I started to go through this process of like what I'm putting in my body, this was something that I decided to change. So that meant I had to do a little bit more. That means I had to reach out. I had to ask, just like my best friend, she had to do the research. She had to figure out how to, recreate this, because again, there's a mandate on her that she cannot eat certain things. So when that mandate came on her, she really had to change what she thought about food and how she made it, right? But that meant that she had to be more intentional and more, I guess the best word is intentional. She had to be more intentional about every single thing that she ate, right? And when you start to do that, you start to realize that, hey, you know what, I feel better. I have use of my limbs a little bit more. Before my joints were tightening up, or before I had an issue with standing long periods of time. And this is what you're going to start to see a change when you start caring about and being a little bit more intentional about what you're eating and what you're ingesting. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to start with, I know this is crazy, but you're going to have to start really understanding what's in every single thing that you eat. That means you're going to have to read a few more labels. And I'm not saying it's just about, the McDonald's fries. This is also in regards to what is considered healthy. I went and I started to try to find milk substitutes, because of 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how I need to get to a place where I don't drink or eat dairy. But I really like cheese and I really like milk. I really like whole milk too. I didn't do the transition to 2% or anything like that. So I was trying to find these substitutes for milk. I've already tried almond. I tried oat. I tried all these things. I don't really like them, right? But then I'm thinking I'm doing something better by trying these other types of milks, right? But then when you go to read the ingredients, again, some things say oats, water, and sugar, or some things say oats, water, and salt, and some things say oats, water, and vanilla, and some things say oats, water, and honey, right? But then some things have some type of gums in it, this type of nitrate, this and this. That really should not be what's in milk, right? So if you're drinking almond milk, and I know people who've made it, if you're drinking cashew milk, and I know people who have made it, they soak the nuts. After they soak the nuts, they blend them down until they turn into a milk with water, most of them. And they blend them down so they turn into like a milk-like consistency. And then they put it through like a strainer. And then some of them put them through like a cheesecloth to make sure that no other little nicks and crannies get through, right? And that's how they make their milk. And if they want to sweeten it, I've known people to have add dates. I've known people who have added with it vanilla. You can do different things of that nature, right? So none of the hydrated this and hydrated that and some type of gum, none of that stuff should be needed for almond milk, cashew milk. But if you read the ingredients on the bottles of some of these types of milks, these are all things that are listed. And so when you start Googling them and start trying to understand what is this, what is that, you'll start to find out that none of these things are good for your body. So you can think if you just do a surface change and not really start to put in the work and start and try to figure out what you are ingesting and what you are taking in, you will find out that you are actually still doing your body a lot of harm. And some people say, well, that's better than whole milk, but not necessarily. And that's the issue that you'll start to find out. Like there's plenty, and I know this is weird, but I've known a lot of people who have gone vegan. And there are some people who have gone vegan and they're extremely healthy. And then there's other people who have gone vegan and they have actually not as healthy because some of the substitutes and some of the things that they're putting in their bodies, they're not much better for you. And when I was just talking about this, I went somewhere and I had this, it was like when I wasn't eating meat, I went to this vegan restaurant and I had something that was supposed to be oxtails. And it was absolutely delicious. It was flavored perfectly and all this. It was delicious. And I think I also had like an Italian hot dog or something from there. Absolutely delicious. It was excellent. And then I know that they use something called a seitan method, right? They use seitan, right? And I didn't know what seitan was. I knew it wasn't meat and it was good. That's all I knew. But as I was eating it, my best friend at the time, she, like I said, she was intentional about what she was putting in her body. So she looked up and she started to find out detail about what the seitan method is, right? And literally, it's flour. It's pretty much flour. Sometimes it gets shaped and manipulated into, into the meat or whatever that you would like to eat, right? But it's pretty much flour. And if you step back and you remember what flour is, so it's like I'm eating a plate of bread, flavored bread, right? And bread is bad for you. All of that flour is not good for you, right? So you're thinking you're doing yourself a favor by not eating meat, but then you might as well have eaten a burger. You might as well have eaten, the hot dog. You might as well have done that. So that's why it's important to really understand the whole process, right? There was also, when I was doing without eating the meat, I started to eat something called Impossible Burger. Impossible Burger was, tastes very much like a burger. Very much like a burger. Even Burger King had an Impossible Whopper at a time, and I ate it. It was very good, right? But then I started to read and started to understand stuff, and again, some of this you have to kind of research it and understand it for yourself. But there was a chemical in the Impossible Burger meat that they said could be cancer causing, and then someone else in another article stated, now mind you, I have not personally researched this. It was just articles that I've read. And it was like, there's something in the Impossible Burgers that can be found in the chemical that they use to make Roundup. And we already know that Roundup has been led to cancer. So my point is, you're thinking you're doing yourself a favor by changing and not eating meat, but you're using a meat substitute. It's time to step back, get back into what is, real food, right? So eat a bean burger, eat something that you know what it is. Impossible Burger is not even real meat. And so when I started to try to understand what is Impossible Burger, like when I started to read it, I can't tell you. How do they make it look like meat, right? How do they do this? How do they do that? Then I stopped and I started listening to someone talk about ground beef. And we're starting to find out that, the FDA is allowing more and more and more and more things to sneak through, more and more and more things to get past, things that are that would never have been acceptable before are acceptable now, right? And one of the things is this thing called pink slime. Now I've heard of pink slime, all right. And before it was just okay to be used in, it's like byproducts of beef, and they clean it supposedly with ammonia, and it's from a long time though it was approved in dog food, but now it is improved to be in our regular food. So they're saying how, that they can mix it with ground beef, so it makes it fuller, right? So you don't know what you're consuming anymore, right? So you're going to get back to the days where those people who live off the farm, those people who live off the land, you see like the lifespan of our grandparents and their parents, they was like 90s and 100 years old, because these are people who, they went out, and when they wanted a chicken, they went and wring the chicken's neck and cooked it, Then they wanted a cow, they went out to the field and they picked one from their cattle and they ate it, right? So there's less and less and less and less of all of these alternatives and things that they are doing to fatten the cows, to, I know with milk, they had a thing where, young girls were developing faster, right? And they were talking about the hormones and things that they were giving the cows to have them produce more milk, right? That was being passed through these cows to our children, right? So we have to be more mindful about genetically modified and some of the things that are being done. Yes, for convenience. Yes, for making things cheaper. All of these things, they're great until they're not. Right. I was thinking, and how there was a whole craze about water, not to drink out of plastic bottles of water. Don't drink out of plastic bottles of water. Don't drink out of plastic bottles of water. Now, this is just something that I got maybe like a couple of days ago, because I was speaking to someone and I was saying how they asked me how I make my broccoli. Well, they asked how you make broccoli. And this was like the other day. And I said, well, I put it in the microwave for 90 seconds and then it comes out and I season it how I want. And so they were laughing. They were talking about, no, real broccoli. I said, well, I don't know, because I don't cook real broccoli like that. So, and I'm laughing about it because when I stepped back and I was thinking about that, I said, wow, why is it okay to warm things up in plastic in the microwave? But we was all afraid we was going to get cancer when we put a plastic bottle of water in the car and it got hot. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have to rethink everything, right? All the steam bags, all this and that. Remember, there was a problem when you warm up the plastic, and when the plastic was emitting some type of chemical and it was getting into the water. And that's why this whole craze of people having their reusable bottles and people using metal bottles and certain types of plastic, where you're paying substantially more to ensure that you're not getting the toxics from this plastic in your body. Then you think about it, you got 90-second rice, you got 90-second string beans, 90-second corn, you got all this stuff you can put in the microwave for 90 seconds. Then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, we're warming these things up in this plastic, and it's probably emitting those same chemicals that we just said that we couldn't consume, that was causing cancer. So we really have to reevaluate everything that we are doing as far as what we're putting in our bodies. And I'm one that's always saying, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be making up from scratch. I don't have time to be going to take the, how you shuck corn. I don't shuck corn. I buy the corn that's already shucked, or I buy the corn, used to buy the corn in the plastic bags that I can go steam. And then you just add your butter and your seasoning, right? So God has been trying to be conscious with me about taking some time out for myself and doing what is necessary to be able to live a long life, to be able to be his hands and feet, to be able to be here for my grandchildren, friends, and family. He is giving me this path. He has placed me around people where they have made me hyper conscious of what I'm eating, right? And so, the last couple of weeks I've been talking about taking care of yourself, being more present. I've been talking about showing up for yourselves and things of that nature. Someone that I know, she is doing a challenge, and it's like a soul challenge about the vessel, right? That's being a vessel of honor. And there's something where she talked about when she started this challenge, she started off saying how we're going to start off with bits and pieces. Like small bits and pieces. And she made a point of saying that. And at first I was like, why does she keep saying small pieces? We going to show up for ourselves or we not, right? But she says small bits and pieces. And I wasn't thinking about it until she was explaining that small bits and pieces when I saw the big picture of what she was saying. Like some of the challenges are just something extremely so simple, right? But if you have a mentality of all or nothing, you don't even think that small bit that you're doing is showing up for yourself. I don't know if that makes sense. So like, for instance, when I say that I need to do better with the way that I eat, and I'm talking to you right now about how we consume food and making sure that we are diligent about what we put in our bodies, right? So for some of us, it may not be, today we stop eating all things fast food, right? But it may be, okay, well, at least I know that I need to cut down on this, or I know for sure that the chemicals that are found in this food are this. I can make a small change. I can start off doing this. I can start off doing that. And that's how I felt about this challenge. It's kind of like it's a small thing. And when you start showing up for yourself in small ways, those small things become bigger things, become bigger things. And the next thing you know, you are doing everything, right? But if you keep saying, okay, I'll start this next week, or I'll start that next week, or you know what, this little pit is not going to be a big deal, so I'm just going to keep on doing it until I can stop everything. No, you got to start. You got to start where you are. You got to start. You got to start showing up for yourself. So yeah, maybe you haven't gotten to the place where you can read everything or you can go through every single ingredient, but you will get to that place if you have to start. And I'll tell you one thing to start with is don't eat McDonald's French fries. Okay. I'm telling you, when you see what's in these fries, you cannot understand why there would be anything more than potatoes and salt. So we have to be conscious of that. And like my best friend, she's very good at like sneaking something healthy in something and giving it to me. And I'm like, oh, and after I like it, she'd be like, oh, that was such and such. I thought you didn't eat such and such. And I'm like, yeah. But I need to broaden my horizons. I need to make sure that I do better, right? I need to do better in so many ways. And granted, I have started and I'm showing up for me. I am doing it. I am moving forward. You can't tell, but my weight this week is 166.1. So I went down like a point of a pound. Last week I was 166.2. So still a long way to go. Body weight, body percentage is the same. But I am showing up for myself. So you know what? I know that there is going to be a change by the end of this. I know there's going to be a change. I know that my weight is going to go down. I know that my health is going to go up. I know that my iron levels are going to improve. I know this because I am showing up for me. I am going to do whatever it takes to be better. And what that takes is in earnest is for you to take a step back, evaluate every single thing that you're placing in your body. I'm telling you, you don't think it's that serious, but it is. When you start to look at, there's plenty of people who work out every day and they may look, we talked about this, they may look physically well, but they are not physically well. There are people who are having heart attacks at 19 and 20. There are people who are morbidly obese at 14 and 15 years old. They can't walk a flight of steps without bending over and breathing heavy. What type of quality of life do you expect to have if that is your norm? But if that's where you are right now, please don't be discouraged, because that can change. I constantly say this in my prayers, is that as long as God has given us breath, there's an opportunity to get it right. God hasn't given up on us. There's still an opportunity to repent. There's an opportunity to start again. There's an opportunity to be different. There's an opportunity to walk in a different way and to do it differently. So I really hope you guys receive that. I really hope, taking inventory of what we're placing in our bodies and being more intentional about that. And also too, just doing that level of effort and care for ourselves, because, let someone get sick or something and they're told that, they can't have sugar. They can't have this. They can't have that. You can create a whole new diet. Why can't you do that before you get to that place? Why do you need to be told that if you don't stop eating sugar, you're going to lose your leg? Why do you need to be told that, if you don't stop the salt intake, you're going to have a heart attack because your blood pressure is through the roof? Why do you need to be told that? Why do you need to get to the place where you are forbidden and you cannot eat a thing, rather than knowing better and doing better before you get to that place? It is really time, for us to show up for us. And again, what I'm saying to you is, be more present about and be more thoughtful of you, right? And if you think about it in this regard, like when you have young children, you're very concerned about what they eat, or what they consume. You need to start treating ourselves like that. We need to start treating ourselves like we're very concerned about what we eat and what we consume. And it's not just about weight. This is about internal health. This is about our energy levels. This is about the ability to be God's hands and feet. This is about, if God has called us to do a prayer walk and you can't stand up straight, or you can't walk a block without physically having to stop and sit down, how can you be the hands and feet? How can you move in the areas where God has called you to go if you're not physically able? And sometimes that physically able part is because we're being disobedient and not doing what God has called us to be. And that is to be good stewards over the vessels that he has given us. I know that I have not been a good steward over this vessel quite a bit. So God has been pushing me to love on me, to care about me, to self-care me, and all these types of things. And now he has pushed me in a place where now I have to talk about it in regards to like how how it was and how it's going to be, if that makes any sense. Like, because right now I am going to be showing up for me. There's going to be lots of things changing, and there has already been many things changing. And I really hope this is helping people. I really hope that this is something that people are going to start, taking into account for themselves and realizing, hey, you know what? I haven't been a great steward over this vessel that God has given me. I haven't been a great steward. I look okay. I'm physically fit to naked eye. So I guess I'm fine. Right. But and I'll just say this. A lot of times, more than anybody else. Can you walk up a flight of steps without ready to bend over in pain? Can you bend down and touch your toes and do some squats? Some people can't. They may look like they can, but they can't. So I know I'm making jokes and I make laughs and all of that. And it's just so you realize, hey, you know what? It's not the end of the world right now. It's not the end of the world, because again, we have breath. We have the ability to do something different. So today we're going to do something different. We're going to start incorporating, more of a diligent mindset about what we're eating, how much we're eating, portions controls, all of these types of things that we don't typically think of, right? How many of us grew up in a situation where you always had to finish your plate? I know people who are not hungry, but if somebody made their plate and there's food on it, they're going to finish it because they've always been told to finish what's on their plate, rather than just eat until you're full, or just eat until you cannot. Some people, they just keep eating because it's there. So that's also a habit. And some people's a learned habit. Some people it's it's like, some people believe in throwing away food is like a sign of disrespect. There's certain cultures, like if you don't eat their food, it's a sign of disrespect. Also too, being glutton, eating in excess for no reason is a sin. So if I disrespect someone by not eating all their food or whatever, I'm sorry, but I don't do that. I do not finish a plate, and I don't do it on purpose. It's just I eat until I'm full, and once I'm full, I do not try to overstuff myself. Period. And I have definitely offended people. I've offended people by saying I don't, no thank you. And I think I'm polite, but I've offended plenty of people in that way. Not intentional, of course. But I think people need to realize that, hey, you know what? If I sit here and continuously eat for no reason, I'm overstuffing myself. That is not healthy for me. I'm not even to mention the weight gain portionality of it, but is it greasy food? Is it spicy food? I know people who have acid reflux, and from years and years and years of spicy food, and certain cultures, this is how they eat. So they don't want to offend people. They keep eating it, knowing that it's causing them harm, even at points where they were in the hospital. So my point is, like, you have to be a little bit. You have to use discernment. You have to use wisdom, and you have to use. Common sense, I would say, on some levels, is that there are things that you need to do differently. And we're going to start from this point forward. I know that I've been talking about the food intake, and I'm telling you, I was just so shocked by what I read and saw about those McDonald's fries. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you under JB on Sports, you would have seen the post that I put up in regards to those McDonald's fries. But also, too, if you don't, I'll repost it up a little bit later, or I'll try to also post it on Facebook. Again, I really do think we need to do a better job of what we put in our bodies. And I think a good way of doing that is making sure that we're making and cooking everything for ourselves. Now, I do know that every day, every week, I said that I was going to talk about a Black business, and I know we're pushing it up against the time. So I'm just going to mention the business. If you are in the Montclair area and you like diner food, the Montclair Diner is Black owned. I don't know if you knew that. The food there is very good. The service there was very good. And like I said, I would only talk about places that I physically have been to and have had their food. And 1 year, again, I told you I know how to cook it from scratch and all that type of stuff. I am not one of those people who want to prove their cooking skills around Thanksgiving time. But one Thanksgiving, you could order Thanksgiving dinner from them. And the mac and cheese was good. The mashed potatoes was good. The turkey everything was great. So if you are in the Montclair area and you are interested in looking up or finding a Black owned restaurant, this restaurant is called Montclair Diner. The food is very good. The location is great as well. I think you will love the place. Like I said, food is very good, and it's diner, so they have a little bit of everything. I think you will love it. Again, Black owned, very, very, very nice. The service was excellent. The food was excellent, and I think you will enjoy it. So see you guys next week. I'll come with you with my weight again. Talk about BMI. We talk about different things that we may have learned, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this NBA mid-season tournament thing, because I cannot wait to see what they're going to say about this, because I don't know how it's going to work or how it's going to be relevant or why it's going to get people interested in anything, but we'll see. All right, so guys, enjoy. See you guys next week, God willing.
Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio. Let's go.
This is Essence Atkins, and this is BKS1 Radio.